The sleepwalker's shadow. Marcus had always been a deep sleeper, but lately, something had changed. His nights were plagued by vivid dreams that felt more like memories, fragmented images of walking through darkened streets, standing at the edge of cliffs, or staring into mirrors where his reflection didn't match his movements. He'd wake up disoriented, his body aching as though he'd been running for miles. At first, he chalked it up to stress or insomnia, but when his wife, Rachel, began noticing strange things, he couldn't ignore it any longer. One morning, she shook him awake, her face pale and drawn. "Marcus," she said hesitantly, "you were out last night." "What do you mean?" he asked groggily, sitting up in bed. "I woke up because I heard footsteps downstairs. When I went to check, I saw you leaving the house. You didn't even have shoes on. I called your name, but you didn't respond. It was like you weren't really there." Marcus laughed it off, brushing her concerns aside. "Probably just sleepwalking," he muttered. "It happens to people sometimes." But over the next few weeks, the incidents grew more frequent and more disturbing. Rachel claimed she saw him wandering the neighborhood late at night, his gait stiff and unnatural, his head tilted at an odd angle. Once a neighbor knocked on their door asking if everything was okay. They'd spotted Marcus standing motionless in the middle of the road, staring at the moon with empty eyes. Then came the static. It started as a faint crackle, almost imperceptible, buzzing softly in the corners of Marcus's mind. Over time, it grew louder, filling his waking hours with a constant electric hum. He tried to ignore it, convincing himself it was tinnitus or some other benign condition. But soon, the static became impossible to escape. It followed him everywhere, in the shower, in his car, even in crowded rooms where noise should have drowned it out. And then, one evening, he saw it. As he passed a mirror in the hallway, Marcus froze. His shadow wasn't behaving normally. While his body stood still, the silhouette stretched tall, its head twisting backward impossibly far before snapping back into place. The movement was subtle, almost imperceptible but undeniable. Panicked, Marcus turned away, refusing to look again. Rachel noticed the change in him immediately. He grew distant, avoiding mirrors and bright lights. Dark circles formed under his eyes, and his hands trembled constantly, as if fighting an invisible force. One night, unable to bear the tension any longer, she confronted him. "Marcus, what's happening to you?" she demanded, her voice trembling. "You're not yourself anymore." He didn't answer. Instead, he stared past her, his gaze fixed on something behind her shoulder. Slowly, Rachel turned around and screamed. There, on the wall beside them, was Marcus's shadow. But it wasn't attached to him. It writhed independently, slithering along the surface like liquid darkness. Its edges shimmered unnaturally, pulsating with a faint, otherworldly glow. Before either of them could react, the shadow detached completely, pooling onto the floor before rising upright, humanoid in shape but featureless, save for two glowing pinpricks where eyes should have been. "Help me!" it rasped, its voice layered with countless overlapping tones. "I'm trapped!" Marcus collapsed to his knees, clutching his head as the static reached deafening levels. The shadow surged forward, engulfing him in suffocating blackness. For a moment, the room was silent. Then, slowly, Marcus stood. His movements were jerky, mechanical, as if controlled by an unseen puppeteer. His eyes were vacant, his expression blank. Rachel backed away, tears streaming down her face. "Marcus, please, say something!" He tilted his head, regarding her with cold detachment. "He's gone," the shadow said, speaking through Marcus's mouth. "Now we can play." Desperate, Rachel fled the house, calling for help. Neighbors gathered outside, watching in horror as Marcus, or whatever now wore his skin, paced the windows, his silhouette flickering erratically. Police arrived shortly after, breaking down the door. Inside, they found nothing but an empty living room and a trail of scorched footprints leading to the basement. The stairs descended into darkness, the air thick with the smell of ozone. At the bottom, they discovered a crude altar constructed from broken mirrors and rusted tools. In the center lay Marcus's phone, its screen cracked but still glowing. On it was a single app, its icon resembling a twisted shadow. The officers attempted to retrieve it, but the device emitted a high-pitched whine before shattering into fragments. Marcus was never seen again. Weeks later, Rachel returned home from work to find the house eerily quiet. She called out, but there was no response. As she walked through the living room, she caught sight of something in the corner of her eye, a flicker of movement reflected in the window. Turning slowly, she saw it, her own shadow, detached and writhing on the wall. It stretched toward her, its form shifting and contorting until it resembled Marcus's face. "You shouldn't have left me," it whispered, its voice chillingly familiar. Rachel tried to scream, but no sound came out. The shadow lunged, swallowing her whole. To this day, the house remains abandoned, its windows boarded up and its doors sealed shut. Locals avoid walking past it at night, claiming they can still hear faint whispers drifting from within. Some say the shadows in the area are darker than they should be, stretching unnaturally long even under moonlight. Others swear they've seen figures moving inside the house, silhouettes pacing behind the curtains. And late at night, when the world is quiet, travelers passing through town report hearing a low, crackling static emanating from their phones. If they answer the call, they're greeted by a voice that sounds suspiciously like their own, asking one simple question: "Will you set me free?"